I still can't believe this. I find a camera nobody's ever heard of. Then one of my favorite photography YouTubers makes a video about a cooler version of it first. It has a Pikachu on it. Unbelievable. But there is a bit more to say about this thing, so let's get technical about a piece of plastic. Here's the first rule with fixed focus cameras: social distance. You can actually use a calculator to figure out how much you need to social distance, so instead of boring you with the details, I'll just tell you. The hyperfocal distance of a 35mm f9 lens is around 15.4 feet, and you get another 7.67 feet closer to you from the focal point in acceptable focus, whatever acceptable means. Depth of field is not exact, but that actually works out to be almost 8 feet away before stuff looks in focus. That's pretty far. That's social distancing far. That's pretend a human body could lie on the floor between you and your subject with a good bit of wiggle room distance. And that's how I visualized it. Got it? Far away. But this has no controls. How do you expose? Well, how did anyone expose with disposable cameras? 400 to 800 ISO film works in direct sunlight, in part because negative film has overexposure latitude, but I don't have direct sunlight. So how do you expose this with flash? Well, the lens on this is f9 and flashes way faster than your shutter. As long as the shutter is completely open while the flash fires, you're good. This old one has a chart on the back, and I can almost get 160 ISO film exposed correctly right at the boundary of acceptable focus, so good enough for the Portra 160 I already had. And it really was, it worked. Until stuff got a little too far away. Oh shit, that falls off fast. Inverse square law indeed. So, what is this thing, and can it get better photos? There's only one branded version of this that I could find, the Suntone MM-253. Suntone, unsurprisingly, was not a company that produced cameras. So who made this thing for Suntone? A garish pink version labeled 4Friends, and the Pikachu camera that Sweet Lou reviewed? Well, that's a company most of you probably have never heard of called New Taiwan Photographic Corporation. As far as I can find, cameras like these generally weren't available for sale and were mostly given away as prizes and such, which makes sense since the quality of one of these is not as good as a disposable from the same era. Not even with some of the best film stocks you can get. The lens just isn't great. And the flash circuit is basically just a thin piece of metal that, I'm not kidding about this, it just gets hit by a little hammer attached to the shutter mechanism. In order to complete your circuit, the flash needs to have a pretty high sync voltage, and that was a bit of a headache to figure out because my newer flashes weren't working with this. So older is much better. Enter the behemoth. I wanted to go all out and just completely nuts with this and get the best pictures I could have out of this plastic brick. So after loading it with Ektar 100, I set up 2 off-camera flashes with optical triggers. Everything on full power because, oh boy, this lens doesn't let in a lot of light, and this film that I was using needs whatever light it can get. And didn't I say you need to social distance? Shouldn't everything... something isn't right here. So if you add another element that converges rays in front of your existing lens, you'll wind up moving your focus point closer. You can do this with magnifying glasses, reading glasses, or you can use one of these handy little purpose-built close-up lenses that are designed to get your lens to focus a little closer than it normally would be capable of. There's enough depth of field with a camera like this that you can just zone focus, basically. Anything closer than about 8 feet away and you stick this little lens in front and it's good enough. It's good enough. And oddly, in spite of the plastic lens and all the nasty chromatic aberration and pink cushion distortion, it came out reasonably sharp. I guess there really isn't much left to be said about this. It's a bad camera with awful build quality. Trying to take it apart and get a good idea of the inner workings was probably a mistake. It didn't want to go back together. But, stuff like this is fun, and I think you should give it a try for yourself if you haven't. Maybe try to get a camera to do things it wasn't supposed to do. Easiest way to do that would be just head out and buy yourself a disposable. They still make them. Otherwise, I do have a couple of affiliate links for focus-free cameras, and maybe you can pick up something that no one has ever heard of before and do a review before your favorite YouTuber gets to it. I guess that's all I have for now. If you like this, give those YouTube buttons everyone talks about a big heckin' bap. And try something new, why don't ya?